I need ChatGPT developing a and becoming unusable. Hey, I wrote that 50k Harry Dubois tentacle cloaca fic. I paid my dues. Right, so if you weren't already aware, AO3 got scraped for the purposes of training generative AI again. Back at the start of 2023, over 2 years ago at this point, I made a video about the first time this happened, when AI writing assistant software and programs were utilizing massive datasets to train their AI models. Datasets comprised of pretty much any and all publicly available and accessible text and literature online, which includes fanfiction, a lot of which is hosted on AO3. Folks were able to determine what was going on when they typed in various character names along with the words alpha or beta or omega, and the AI would spit out cobbled together Omegaverse fanfiction. Gee, I wonder where it learned that. More recently, some folks pointed out how much AI loves sprinkling in M-dashes when it comes to generating writing, and many fic authors came out of the woodwork to be like, yeah, guess what we love to use? It got to the point where people could type in innocuous fanfiction terms, and in turn, the AI would generate graphic smut. Perfect for writing your English paper, right? Because the thing about AI writing is that it's not actually thinking for itself or creatively coming up with stuff. It's advanced statistical probability and pattern recognition. They need to be fed data in order to have something to recognize patterns within in the first place, and then generate stuff. Without the data, there's nothing to work off of. It's why AI generative programs are often nicknamed plagiarism machines, because you can't plagiarize something if that something, data, doesn't already exist. The data being used for generative AI training purposes can be acquired through web scraping. And the TLDR for that is, someone can go in and scrape a website of its data, collect it, and put it in a data set, and then they can either share or sell that data set to whoever wants to use it to train their AI. Now, regarding fanfiction, in addition to the ethical and moral concerns of people's creative works being used without permission to train AI, there's also legal issues that could come up. Because fanfiction, as we all know, is transformative fiction that typically includes copyrighted material and IP. It's why fanfiction authors can't make money off of their works unless they change pretty much everything that ties it to the media that it was written about. And so it really sucks when fanfiction authors spend time working hard writing fics to share with other fans because they love a piece of media so much and want to share that love with other people, only to have their work scraped, put into datasets, and then used by generative AI programs to make money. Again, the datasets themselves can be sold for money, or many generative AI programs utilize subscription services that you pay for, or people use generative AI to make products that they then sell. If you wrote an 800,000 word Zutara fanfic back in 2014 that was then put into a dataset that was fed to an AI model used for generative writing, then that AI uses your fanfic along with thousands of other people's fics that got put in the dataset in order to figure out how to write and generate stuff, such as stories. I mean, granted, stories, because these models aren't that sophisticated enough yet to make things really cohesive and neat, but still, that all was the gist of how generative AI uses, steals fanfiction, and what happened back at the end of 2022, early 2023. Now, back then, AO3 got indirectly pulled into all of this, because basically the entire internet got scraped, and so AO3 being on the internet ended up in datasets. But on April 15th of this year, AO3, alongside several other websites dedicated to hosting writing and art, was targeted directly for the purpose of having its data scraped to be used to train generative AI. The news first got out on paperdemon.com, which was also one of the targeted websites. Someone has scraped the majority of the artwork and writing submissions that exist on paperdemon.com without our knowledge or consent. They have created 2 AI datasets and published them on an AI dataset sharing website called Hugging Face. This person also scraped Artful, Character Hub, and Archive of Our Own. For Paper Demon, an estimated 50,000 artwork submissions were taken and put into this dataset. And then, about a week later, 2 posts on the AO3 Reddit detailing and going over the situation blew up and circulated on Twitter and Tumblr. Hi all, as you may be aware, there's been an incident regarding the archive's data being used to potentially train generative AI. It seems that a user by the name of Newzoo conducted an unauthorized scrape of the archive, both artwork and writing, as well as at least 7 other websites, and uploaded the dataset to the machine learning website Hugging Face. This only scraped publicly available works. Archive-locked works do not appear to be part of the dataset since they're not publicly available. You have to have an AO3 account to access them, so they can't be scraped that way. The works in the set are from as recent as March of this year and comprise of all publicly available works before then. AO3 is aware of this, and they have filed a DMCA takedown to Hugging Face, where the data has been made temporarily unavailable, aka nobody is able to currently access it for training purposes. In response, the uploader filed a counterclaim to try to get it reinstated, though as Hugging Face's terms of service don't allow uploads of any content the uploader doesn't own the rights to, it's unlikely that their counterclaim will succeed. Thank goodness. However, the user also uploaded the dataset to 2 more websites after the Hugging Face takedown: Modelscope and Datafish. The upload to Modelscape does appear to have been taken down and deleted as of writing this. The scraper apparently went after AO3 at the request of another Hugging Face user and got really aggressive in the comments of discussions with multiple fake accounts. I cannot understand how this scraper sees themselves as a good guy in this scenario. I grew up with the idea that everyone sees themselves as the hero of their own story, but so many people these days seem to be willfully and gleefully cruel for the sake of being cruel. I don't even see how there is a personal benefit for the scraper here. They're just stealing to hurt people and feed soul-crushing programs. Entitlement. They think it's publicly available, so it belongs to them to do as they please. It's the same mindset as those people selling fanfic bindings for $100 on Etsy. I enjoy that they call it my dataset. No, little buddy, it's not yours. Hopefully, Hugging Face doesn't take kindly to his blatant disregard of their site's terms of service and attempts to skirt the legal process and disables his whole account. This is a matter that affects us all. The summary is this: a user of Hugging Face, a machine learning website where people upload databases, applications, and models, that goes by the name of Newzoo, has done an unauthorized scrape of both artwork and writing from at least 7 websites, AO3 included. Of the 7 websites that were scraped, only 2 of the original datasets have been deleted though. The dataset of AO3 on Hugging Face is currently disabled, meaning you can't download it, but you still can see the relevant information of the dataset, and it could be available again if the copyright infringement DMCA takedown requests are countered. The dataset contains approximately 12.6 million publicly available works from AO3, which means that about 2.3 million fics were locked and thus not scraped. The AO3 dataset was created by processing works with IDs from 1 to 63,200,000 that are publicly accessible. Basically, if this number identifying the fic is less than 63,200,000, it's been scraped and put into the dataset. But do not panic. While your fic has likely been scraped, AO3's current DMCA has made the dataset containing your work currently unusable, and deleting fics will not help the situation as the data has already been pulled at this point. During the latest meeting for the OTW, the Organization of Transformative Works, aka the organization that AO3 falls under, the situation came up and a member of the board stated that they added Cloudflare protection to prevent AI scraping and other bots from doing this in the future. The OTW is aware and actively responding to the scraping incident. Our legal committee is currently in discussions with the site owner, and for that reason, we cannot comment further publicly at this time. They're working behind the scenes to take care of this. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. We are very fortunate to have the OTW legal team watching out for fan creators' backs. Update: as of May 1st, the AO3 dataset has been permanently disabled. While this isn't a total win since the dataset hasn't been completely deleted yet, and so the data still is out there, at the very least, it's permanently inaccessible on Hugging Face. It's not the end of the stolen dataset as we know it, but it is progress. This article on AO3 was published back in 2023 and goes over a lot of the concerns fans have regarding AI and data scraping. AO3 wants to keep the option open for responsible data collectors, for instance, people who use web scraping for academic research, which is what I did a few times in university. It's an unfortunate reality that anything that is publicly available online can be used for reasons other than its initial intended purposes. In many cases, AI data collection traffic relies on the same techniques as legitimate use cases above. The Archives development team will continue to be on the lookout for individual scrapers collecting AO3 data and to take action as needed. Likewise, our legal committee has and will continue to serve the OTW mission of protecting fan works from legal challenge and commercial exploitation. This includes their position that users should be allowed to opt out from having their works incorporated into AI training sets, a position they have presented to the US Copyright Office. They too will continue to keep pace with this developing field. The law does have a lot of catching up to do with technology here, so you may have to be a bit patient. As of right now, what can we in the fanfiction community do to protect our creative works and the works of our fellow fans? At the moment, if you're an AO3 author, then the only major deterrent would be to archive lock your fanfics. That means that only other AO3 users with AO3 accounts can access and read your fics. This can become an issue of accessibility though, as not everybody who uses AO3 has an account. A lot of people are content to just remain guests. And when you archive lock your fics don't show up in any search engines because again, they're private just for AO3. And so if you want as many people as possible to be able to find and read and comment on your fic, then archive locking it can become a handicap. It's a deterrent for most scrapers who want easy data fast, but it's not foolproof. And there are claims that some locked fics were actually included in the Newzoo scrape, and some public works got skipped over entirely, oddly enough. However, if a scraper does have an AO3 account, then it is a lot easier to track them down and kick them out. It's a matter of how openly available do I want my fanfics to be for the community versus do I want to protect my creative works against potential future scraping for AI purposes. And it really depends on the fic authors for this, because different people write for different reasons. This is so frustrating. I won't lock my works because I believe everyone should have access to fanfiction, but god, this sucks. I never thought I'd say this, but I think it's time I lock my works. I considered locking my fics, but I don't think it's worth it. I write because I want people to read it. The less barriers between my work and the reader, the better. It's not worth it to add barriers so a couple people can't feed it into AI, especially when AI writing is just terrible. So, well, it. Locked down last year after the last round of this. Feels great not to be affected by this. Highly recommend it. I feel so much regret right now for not putting my fanfics under registered users only. I feel so up over this, I'm actually crying. I mean, my fandom is small, my works are niche, but I feel like I'm gonna throw up at the idea of my works getting fed into AI. What other people choose to do is not your fault, nor is it your responsibility. You have done nothing wrong, nothing to be ashamed of. You made your work publicly and freely available to anyone who might want to read it, and I'm sure there are people without AO3 accounts who are so grateful for that fact. You did it for them, not the AI bros. I had to go and mark all my fics as viewable to registered users only, as a measure to try and prevent this. Sucks as I love getting guest comments and kudos, but I cannot trust anyone because there are clowns like Newzoo out there. I feel like the only thing locking fics because of AI does is make it harder for real people to read stuff written by real people. I locked my fanfiction, but at this point I'm just considering deleting everything. I remember when I was young, there were few private communities for fanfiction that you couldn't access unless the mods vetted you. I can see the wisdom in that now. While I do feel bad that my fics are now slightly less accessible, I think we all need to remember that getting an AO3 account is free, and everyone who is enjoying your fics has that option. Yes, there is a waiting period to get an invite, but it's often only a few days, up to a couple weeks, and then you're able to enjoy any fics you want. This is a can't put the toothpaste back in the tube situation for me. They've gotten what they've gotten, and it feels obvious now there's probably been scrapes that just haven't been made public knowledge. Locking for me feels more prohibitive of readers reading than scrapers scraping, so the weight of it in my eyes just doesn't make it worth it in my opinion. I respect everyone's personal decision on it though. I'm not overly worried about engagement, so I decided to lock mine. I don't think it's likely to change anything, the scrape is done and the data is already out there, but I feel better making it at least a tiny bit more difficult for my works to be stolen. I have many guest readers who leave me kudos and comments that if I were to lock my fics, I'd feel like I'm punishing them for something out of their control. Ultimately, everyone has to do what feels right to them, but I don't write for money. I write for the joy of sharing with others. Locking my fics isn't going to affect AI one iota, only my loyal guest readers, so I've chosen to keep them open for now. Lock your works. This may not work forever, but it'll slow scraper bots down significantly, and hopefully AO3 is looking into other options. Even so, if tech bros are forced to make an account first, which most would be too lazy to do, the bot will be more easily found and tracked, and that account can be reported and hopefully removed. And again, if you want to get rid of your fics on AO3 because you don't want them involved in AI training, then just keep in mind that if they've already been scraped, They're already in the dataset, and getting rid of them now won't change that. Another potential deterrent I've seen floating around out there is including invisible text and disclaimers within fanfiction, huge blobs of invisible mishmash to poison the AI from the inside. However, this could pose problems for those who use text-to-speech programs to read fanfiction. There are tools being implemented and developed right now, like virtual labyrinths and Tar, that is meant to trap AI scraper bots and prevent them from collecting data. It's still a work in progress, but it is promising to protect fanworks in the future. So, as you can imagine, there were some tips that broke out over this, some of which were on Hugging Face itself. Some folks on Hugging Face were trolling AO3 authors who came to report their fics on the website, saying stuff like, "Thanks to this dataset, I was able to write a novel in a few days, and now I made $1,500. Apparently, some pro-Gen AI 4chan users were going after some Tumblr users who were talking about the scrape, and as an extra sour cherry on top of all of this mess, after the Newzoo scrape, AO3 got scraped yet again! Thankfully, the second scrape was taken down pretty quickly, and the dataset was deleted. It turned out to be a phishing scam, as the user, Chat Error, tried to get folks to give them their personal information in exchange for accessing their data. Classy extortion, bro. You may be wondering, what do I do now? The unfortunate truth about this all is that we really can't do a whole lot in this situation. Truth be told, if you post anything online publicly, if you put anything out in the world, you never know where it'll end up. The only surefire way to make sure your writing isn't stolen is pretty much just writing it down physically and hiding it. Because the dataset on Hugging Face is already disabled, you don't need to fill out a DMCA report, but if this does happen in the future and your fic is put into a dataset that's hosted on another website, then you can file an individual copyright infringement report to request the dataset be taken down. So many folks in the fanfiction community are devastated and frustrated by all of this, rightfully so. And even if you're a fic enjoyer who doesn't use or like AO3, any websites that host fanfiction are fair game for these guys who want to scrape them and harvest the data to put in datasets to use for AI training. Wherever you read and write fics, if they're public, then this is applicable to you. This whole situation is so discouraging to authors. Like, we don't put our time and energy and love for your stupid AI to steal it. How hard is it to respect boundaries? I'm glad AO3 is taking legal action. About to start physically printing and mailing my fics to subscribers like they did in the old days. I just wanted to write video game boys kissing, and I'm tired. It pisses me off that tech bros are scraping years of authors' labor from the internet to feed their AI slot machines without any copyright repercussions. Yet it's ironic that they scrape AO3 just as quickly as they do LibGen, and yet fanfic authors are seen as cringe, lamau, just discouraging human creativity if it will be stolen by AI anyway. I really hate all of this. The only upside is how much Omega Hole is going to corrupt their models. Great, he's got mine. Reporting, but I hope the AI likes gay, furry, and trans empreg. Literally, all my fics were scraped except one. I'm so pissed. I'm not gonna take my fics down, but seriously, fuck AI so hard. This is really gonna fuck up the canon of a lot of media. I hope their AI does nothing but regurgitate Destiel Omegaverse in the style of My Immortal. Cool, yay! Just come into my house and take my computer, why don't you? I don't want this to be super disheartening where people are like, well, I'm never writing fanfiction again. Because don't get me wrong, this is a really sucky situation. But that doesn't mean it's game over. If you stop writing because of this incident, it's only giving the thieves what they want. A lot of talk around Gen AI hinges on fear-mongering and making creatives feel hopeless and powerless, so they give up and give in. I can't help but feel like half the drive behind making the news of these scrapes and AI news in general so public is to dishearten artists to the point where they stop creating. No artists making art for you anymore? Never fear, AI is here. By stopping, we're doing the work for them. You go out, relax, and then return to write more if that's what you want to do. While yes, people feeding our works to AI is depressing, I see it not that different from the weirdos who plagiarize fics, or even worse, sell other people's fics. Aside from not publishing anything, there's nothing we can do to prevent these people from stomping all over our works. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't publish anything just because there are people who would do such awful things. Because of the AI scrape and the consumerist viewpoints fanfiction as an art form has gotten itself into, please support writers and artists that don't use AI. I'm going to read a bunch of fics and leave comments today, as well as retweet lots of art. I encourage y'all to do the same. You let the OTW do its work by combating combating the use of their site like this, and you don't allow them to bring you down. Your content and mine was scraped by some asshole who wants to make profit, but your readers are still there. You are still there, and I am still here. Don't give up your joint efforts just because some loser copied you. It's not the first time that fanfic has been used to train AI, and it won't be the last. Capitalism keeps on churning. In the meantime, your readers are still here. You're still here. Keep writing. Having anything you spent time on and pouring your creativity into wrenched out of your control like this is exhausting, but we can make moves against this. Again, it's going to take time for the law to really catch up to technology here, but keep an eye on lawsuits involving copyright and AI. Stay informed. File a DMCA or copyright claim if this happens again. Look into and help support the tools and programs that are being developed to prevent AI scraping bots from collecting data. Remember that you have ownership over your fics and the rights to their distribution. And remember that the OTW does have a full legal team and folks working to figure out solutions to ensure situations like this don't happen in the future. Leave some kudos and nice, encouraging comments on your favorite author's fics, and let's do our best to uplift the fanfiction community and stay optimistic. Fanfiction exists because it's born out of fans' love for the material, and it flourishes because of the community around it. Love and community are a pretty central part of fandom, and no AI can ever replace that. Really, how we combat this is just to keep writing and to keep moving forward. Don't let this hinder and stop your creativity, because that is something that generative AI and alt writers can never take from you. If they had it themselves, they wouldn't be trying to rip you off. And hey, if anything, we just gotta write so much unhinged, cursed debauchery that we poison the well. I'll take my duties very seriously. I need ChatGPT developing a and becoming unusable. Hey, I wrote that 50k Harry Dubois tentacle cloaca fic. I paid my dues. Thanks for sticking around. I hope this was informative. I'll leave some links that could be helpful for you in the description. If you have any additional thoughts or information regarding fanfiction and AI you want to share in the comments, then please feel free to do so. As always, if you'd like to see more fandom, fanfiction, and fan culture-esque videos from yours truly, then feel free to subscribe. Hopefully the next video on this channel will be much more silly goofy than this one. But thank you again for sticking around, and I will see you next time, guys. Bye!